Today we're going to look at the Dogtra 200C electronic collar system. First we're going to open the box and take a look at what we get when we receive the system. The 200C is a one-dog system, so we receive our receiver collar, which comes with a long collar on it, which we can trim down to the size of our dog. These transmitters, since they are one-dog systems, we'll talk about a little more about them later. But like some of the other Dogtra collars, they don't have the orange multiple dog system, so everything on the collar is going to be specific to one dog. We have our charger with a splitter at the end, so we can charge our transmitter and a receiver at the same time. These collars have a rapid charge system, so they should charge within 2 hours. And then lastly, we have a belt clip and a light to check that the stimulation is working. So you can put it on the contact points, you can use the stimulation function and make sure you have power and stimulation. Something to keep in mind about the light is it will only turn on if you're using the stimulation. If you have the light on the probes and you hit the vibration button, there will be no light that turns on. So a little more about the collar. We have a much smaller box than some of the previous models of the Dogtra collars. Over the last couple of years, they've been making the collars a lot smaller, which make them just much more aesthetically pleasing. So we don't have a big box hanging on our dogs' necks, but they're much more low profile. This particular collar has a half-mile range, and depending on kind of the terrain you're in, if you're in a wide open terrain out in the sand fields, it might go further, but most likely you'll have interference if you're at that kind of distance, and so you're not going to get that range. So next we're going to look a little more at the transmitter. So the transmitter itself has 3 buttons. It has a page button, a nick stimulation, and a continuous stimulation. The nick stimulation is a momentary stimulation which only stimulates for a fraction of a second, depending, no matter how long you push the button down. So if I push and hold, my dog will still only receive, I think it's a 1/10 of a second stimulation. If I push and hold the continuous button, my dog will receive stimulation for up to 12 seconds. So after 12 seconds, if I'm still holding, the transmitter will time out and I'll have to take my finger off the button and reapply it. And then lastly, there's a page button, which is a vibration. So you can push that and your dog will feel vibration in the collar. This collar has 100 different levels of stimulation, which you can see on this dial. The nice thing about if you hold this collar, where your thumb lands, you can easily roll the dial up and down. And if you have your fingers on the stimulation buttons or your thumb down here, you can hit the page down here, but you can also easily change the stimulation if needed. So a couple last things we'll note about the transmitter is we don't have a power button. So technically the transmitter is always on, but since there's no digital display, the battery lasts for a lot longer than your collar is going to last. So if my collar is starting to die, I'll just plug both of them in and you should never have a problem with your transmitter dying. Just again to note, because this system isn't expandable, we only have the 3 buttons unique to one dog, so we don't have multiple dogs, and we don't have multiple buttons. So everything is tailored just to one dog. To turn the collar itself on and off, like all the other Dogtra systems, we have a red dot on the collar. We also have a red dot on the transmitter, and we simply will just apply them together. You'll see a green light when you turn the collar on, and to turn it off, we'll hold for a couple seconds and the red light will turn on and off. Make sure when you're turning the collar off that you wait for the red light to turn off. If you see the red light and you take it away too quickly, sometimes you don't turn the collar off and you can come back to a dead collar. One last thing about both the transmitter and the collar is that they are fully waterproof. So you can submerge these in water and you're not going to have problems. Not only are they resistant to water, but they work in water. So if you're a hunting dog trainer or your dog swims a lot, you can still use it to stimulation and vibration even if your dog is swimming. So for those of you who have one dog or like the idea of having one dog per transmitter, this is going to be a great option. If you have multiple dogs and only want one transmitter, I'd consider checking out the Dogtra Arc or the Dogtra 1900 series.